Good evening, everyone. I am testing equipment, so I'm truly happy to have you experience my experiences. I'm going to share with you my screen now. And here we go. The best of both worlds. I think the picture kind of speaks for itself, but for me, it's exactly this: the opportunity to pick up a club and find a way to bring it together in whatever places we are. We have had people in our club, from our club, in Portugal, Spain, all of us working at the same time. But how did we achieve it? Well, some introductions first. My name is Rafael Marques. Thank you, Margarita, for the introduction. I am currently the IT manager for District 107 as well. And the reason why I am the IT manager is because for the past 2 years, so ever since July 2020, both me and our club and our district, we've been working together tirelessly to be able to gather the best conditions so that the district would not stop, so that the district could in fact keep moving forward. During today's presentation, I would like to very quickly first give some acknowledgements on how everything started. The very first club to have in mind was Sevilla Toastmasters Club. We were not pioneers. They created some concept. They came up with hybrid sessions with a lot of materials, computers, equipment, something very complex. And when I became president of Invicta Toastmasters Club 2 years ago, I set myself to completely challenge what is being done, and we need to bring this to our club and, if possible, make it better. So we innovated. We created the very simplest setup that a session should have in order to maintain its full quality. And then a very big thank you to District 107, because in November of 2020, they helped us spread the message that hybrid sessions were a possibility. And not only a possibility, it was a much more viable way than just stopping, than just doing nothing. Going forward, so the workshop, and this is supposed to be a workshop, not a lecture. I'd like to give you the following structure. The considerations, so how to set up a hybrid Toastmaster session, everything, material, session flow, everything that you should need. Then on a second stage, just show you some examples of what Invicta Toastmasters Club was able to do. And there's quite a lot of examples, and some contrast with other clubs and some honorable mentions to other individuals. The honorable mentions is kind of an impromptu on my part, because I saw someone interesting here in this club of officer training. And the last as the last part of this workshop, some talk, discussion, questions and answers, everything we can do to help you. So let us consider, what should we have in mind when setting up a session? First, rules and guidelines. I was very, very close to just deleting this section from the presentation until I just noticed there's a monkeypox outbreak and the World Health Organization is sending it up as a high alert. So we never know, it might be really important to actually keep this in mind. Then we'll work through the equipment. This is going to be a very fast section, because the real importance is on the room layout. These two sections, I'd call them a session setup. So this is the very core of the presentation. And then at the end, we have the session flow. We have how things flow, how it give you some relief in telling you how this could work, and some examples in how it actually did work for us. Rules and guidelines. This should be simple. Your country, and since I'm talking to an audience of 10 countries, your country has rules. Then wherever you meet, either physically or hybridly, that location has rules. The location has rules because some countries have a lot of locations. Inside each country, there's a lot of locations. And then the space where you meet indeed also has rules. And lastly, and this is very critical, your members have a voice and they should be heard. Because now I'm working in a bigger context in Toastmasters. I know that there are clubs who no longer like hybrid sessions as much, and other clubs that see this as the second coming of Jesus Christ on earth, because it works. For them, it just works. Guidelines. Social distancing. We used to need this. Then, when someone is sick, everyone should be wearing a mask. When on stage, what we used to do is just pass the stage with an elbow or a foot. If there was more than one person, everyone should be wearing a mask. And if they are alone, they could take their mask off, but no one could force you. This last point, it's very important. It should still work. Just this past session, I was sick. I wanted to go to my session, so I was wearing a mask. And only when I was alone on stage, I took off the mask. No one could force me, but I chose to work this way. So this is something that even if you're no longer in an active pandemic, these are principles that you can just learn and interact in your sessions. And I used to have a point for ventilating the space because for us, it could get very cold. But just as Turan said, it's getting very hot, so maybe some fresh clothes, it could help. I'm not sure, but I hope it works for you. Now, the session setup, the big point. Let's look at equipment first. For equipment, I'd say that the most basic thing is to have a computer installed. Optionally, you could have a wide-angle camera and a microphone. I mentioned these 2 points separately because your resolution on your camera could be improved a little bit, and the microphone on your computer might not be enough. This is something that you could try and you could test, but you could just start off by having some of these materials. Then a projector or a big screen. I've heard a lot of clubs that don't use projectors, they just use a big screen so that people in the room can see people at home. And a wireless mouse or a mouse pad. And then, so that the people at home can see people in the room, a smartphone with a camera and Zoom installed, a tripod, and a power bank. Usually a session for us takes us 2 hours. 2 hours actively using Zoom might take all of your battery. So this was the equipment. I don't want you to memorize this. I want you to see the image of this working. How? In a room layout. With the very simplest thing, the speaker. All of us love to be on stage. All of us need to love to know exactly that this is the place where we are. Why are we here? Because there's a computer and a camera pointing at us. I mentioned the wide angle because usually a stage is not so small or so unadjusted that a normal camera can do. So the wide angle camera is just a detail that really worked for us. Then you connect this computer to projector or a big screen so that everyone in the room can see what's happening at the Zoom session. And then right by the place where there's an audience at home, we usually set up a cell phone with a tripod, and that tripod the cell phone's camera is aiming at the audience, the physical audience. This way you get a full session going both ways. So the people in the room can see the people at home as the audience, and the people in the audience in the room can see either the audience or the speakers at home with a very good quality. Then the reason why I mark this mouse pad or this keyboard by the side is because we usually had the opportunity to swap between speaker view and gallery view in Zoom so that you would have a feeling of focus. So if there was a speaker at home, you would focus on that speaker. If you had a speaker in the room, you would have the gallery at home. And all of that is very beautiful. Let's look at how we did it. If you don't see me well on camera, this is me. And the person behind the camera is none other than my sidekick, Sergio Baguia. We have the room, social distancing between everything. Setting up my special tripod, which is set up right behind me. And I just put the camera there, setting up my computer, my projector. I mean my projector, but it's not really mine. And if we go, now I'm going, this was more of a hardware focus. I'm going to give you more of a software focus because I set up, I'm in the session, as you can see. And what's really important for me to show you here is this. I don't know if you can see that the focus isn't my friend, but I am not connected to audio in this cell phone. This cell phone is just a camera. There is a problem if you connect two sound entry points. You get that echo, that annoying echo. So this cell phone, this camera is just a camera. The computer, as we can see moving forward, is the sole entry point of sound for the whole session. I was testing that. And Invicta Toastmasters set it up once again. Moving forward, how does the session work? How does a session flow? I have some good news and some bad news. I'm joking. I have good news and other good news. So I'm just going to share them. If everything's good news, I'm just going to share them. So good news. No role has changed. In the past, when they presented this, almost this exact presentation in the past, I did say that some roles change, some roles don't. If you want to have some peace of mind, nothing changes. Very simple. Now the other good news. I mean, okay, there are some warnings. The timekeeper, if the timekeeper is physically in the room and the speaker is at home, they need to pay attention to their placement on the room. They need to make sure that the person at home can see the card with clarity. I don't know how District 109 does this, but we have some colorful cards, some time cards that we can just share with everyone. And then the person on stage. And I think this is one of the biggest faults of either just looking at a screen or just looking at an audience. You can just share your attention. You can share your attention with the audience in the room and then share your attention with some audience at home. This is a small effort that really makes a difference. And how does the session truly work? Not just the way I set it up. People at home, people in the room, everyone has a mask. Let me share the session and pass the stage to someone else. This is just people working at home, and then us in the room, someone working at home, just set the session with someone in the room. It works both ways, very seamless, very simple. And when someone is on the stage, you can see that the person in the Zoom background is in gallery mode. So they can view everyone, either in the room or at home. And for the past 2 years, we've been working tirelessly, and these are the biggest problems we found and their respective solutions. I'm going to start with the biggest one. The worst case scenario, you lose the internet. You have no internet, you can't do a hybrid session. Well, if someone has a mobile data ready, you can save a session just like that. Because Zoom nowadays does not consume that much data, and you can just share your internet connection from a cell phone to a computer, almost no problem. Preparation is the key to success. Quite like it happened before in this meeting, someone was having some issues sharing their screen. Well, that should always be done 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the session starts, because in presence, it's a little disruptive. Online, it's very disruptive because people have a shorter attention span. for the many sessions I've worked with in Portugal and sometimes in Spain, sound is so much more important than video. For example, I have with me a fairly good microphone, and I'm walking away from that microphone. And right now, can you hear me? Can you still hear me? That's because I have a very, very good microphone with me. Because sound is so much more important than image. Because if I shut off my sound, you will have absolutely no idea what I was trying to accomplish. But if I turned off my video and you could just hear me, I've heard entire speeches just audio. It's the most important thing. So if you have to make an investment, invest in sound. Because every cell phone, every computer has a camera, but sound of quality is really hard to come by. Then the overcomplication, too much technology. In one liner, I just say, don't use more technology than you need to. I have seen Sevilla and I've seen countless other clubs working with 3, 4, 5 laptops to get a hybrid session up and running. If you have 5 laptops, you need to have 5 people manning those laptops. If you have 1 laptop, you need 1 person. Maybe the sergeant at arms, I don't know. But the more technology you use, the more maintenance you have to do over them. And this kind of follows into the last step, which is simplify your setup the most. Because right now I'm using a good microphone, a good camera, some good equipment. But if your equipment is cutting edge, what's the chance that you're not going to be able to transfer the knowledge of working with this setup, with this equipment? So simplify your setup the most, and then everyone can do it. Because I was a father this past year, and it was critical that I was absent. And because I was absent, someone else had to do this. Someone else had to set up these hybrid sessions. And this knowledge had to be transferable. Everyone had to be able to do it. And they were, because I did a good job simplifying your setup. So all of this, and this was a doozy, this was everything that we had to consider while setting up a session. Well, let's get to a more fun part of what we did. I'm going to show you and share with you some experiences that Invicta had. We had sessions and giving recognition to people in person. We found ways of setting up the person and the person at home and in the room, so we could give them recognition so that they were at home and they would still feel like they received this recognition while at home. We organized sessions in absolutely minuscule rooms. We set up sessions in auditoriums as big as they get. We set up sessions in the middle of parks. We had the ability to just free ourselves from some boundaries that we wouldn't have if we're just online. By the way, the dog, Cacao, is an official member of Invicta Toastmasters Club. If you go to our website, his photo is in there. We had themed sessions, everyone could participate. And to contrast, I have to share with you the things that I saw in other clubs. And these were the biggest clubs, the biggest contributors to some of the improvements we've made. So Sevilla, I talked to them, I discussed with them at length. They used to have Zoom master, just in the agenda, Zoom master. Someone that had to do a complex job of making sure that all the parts were working together. Then they had to Bluetooth speakers. So again, the technology so much that they had to overwhelm themselves with it. Luckily, they had people, but it still was a toll for them. Then Cluta, our club from Aveiro. If you don't know the name of the city or the name of the city, it's Portugal's Venice. And if you have Italy, you know. Then Aveiro, they used to do this very fun thing that they had an extra laptop or an extra phone just to be the timekeeper. Again, fooling the problem that we have, that the timekeeper had to be in a special place, so that it would always be colorful in the Zoom session. And just like these two examples, every other club we visited, they did things differently. They asked questions. We asked questions. The exchange was really enriching, and I would just suggest that you ask and find the opportunity to learn from everyone. And all I've done for the past 2 years, because I believe I was the main driver in our district, I did it, but I didn't just do it and kept it for myself. Because for the past year, the IT manager for District 107 was not me. It was my great friend and mentor in many hats, Sergio Aguirre. And I would love to pass the word on to him. Sergio, you there?
Thank you, Rafael. Thank you for our presentation. And yeah, it's true. Doing hybrid sessions is not the one job for one guy. You need a team. You need a support group that you can pass the word, that you can pass the legacy. And I pick up all the things that Rafael has taught and developed and put it everything in our district website. All this information and more information you have in that hybrid corner. The microphones that we use, I send reviews for a lot of members in different clubs to share with me, share with us the microphone, the webcam, the speakers, and create a rating of 5 stars. So every single member that want to build an hybrid session can go and look up very quickly what material they should buy, and all the information regarding with that material. Also, tips and tricks, common mistakes, all this information that Rafael was giving, and it's all condensed in this hybrid corner. I invite you all to see it because it's very, very rich in information, and pass through other clubs, pass through your areas, and make District 109 one of the biggest districts in the world. Rafael, the stage is all yours again.
Thank you very much, my friend. I would just say that you have the QR code. If you scan it with your phone, you'll go directly to this place. I'm sure that because the presentation is being recorded, this can be shared later on. Agia, can I ask you to please provide the link here in the Zoom chat? And I would slowly and carefully introduce the last topic of my workshop and say, shall we talk? Who has questions? Who has comments? Who has insults? Actually, I dare you to have insults.
Hi, this is Xiao from Vienna. I don't have an insult. I think you're doing a great job. I do want to ask how you guys deal with something that we sometimes struggle with, because when you have a hybrid meeting and you have a lot of people in the room, let's say you have, I don't know, 15 people in the room and like 3 people online, then I feel like it's more difficult for the people online to connect with the location, because there's no way they can see every single person, right? And if you have, for example, the table topics master online and they're like trying to figure out who to call on and they can't even really see who's in the room. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that?
I would say it has two cornerstones. The first is you as the group that is in the session need to work together. The example you gave about the table topics master happened more than a few times in our club. But the thing is, our camera, the audience camera, is supposed to see everyone. It's the only job it's doing. If it's not seeing everyone, it's in a bad position. Find another one. Not camera position. Find another position. But regarding the concern, more than the concern than the viewing aspect of it, it's happened that a table topics master said, "Here's my topic. Who wants to participate?" And then her hand was raised, and they can see. It's just a matter of collaboration, because if the table topics master is at home and either the Toastmaster of the session or the sergeant at arms or the general evaluator, like someone of fair importance of the meeting is there to say this person and this person and this, someone who can speak clearly on behalf of the room. In our sessions, it could be either of these people or, for example, me, because I was not the Zoom master, but I always had that mouse pad with me to change the perspective. I was always more in tune with, maybe at home they didn't hear, let me help clarify for them. So this is a matter of collective organizing, not much more complicated than that. And I believe it's a healthy exercise. I don't know if that answered your question.
Oh, yes. I think it's also a mindset to make it work, right?
Yes. And one thing I remembered when you asked the question was, if there are only 2 or 3 people at home, it's very easy for them to feel left out, but the person on stage should focus on being in sight, so not ignoring the camera, on looking at the screen so that they feel like they are being paid attention to. This is an iterative process, and it happened in our club that sometimes, oh, the sound quality wasn't good, or we can't see you, or you're not looking at us at home. But it also happened the exact opposite, because there was a session where we had 2 members in the room, and the person in the room felt like, where am I looking? Where am I focusing the most? Nothing's going to be perfect except your best effort. I would just like to add that on top. I don't know how to pronounce the name of this person. It's Keith Sheldrake. The name appeared.
Thank you, Rafael. Hey, we have an interesting point of view. We started doing hybrid meetings. In fact, we still do hybrid meetings. But I found, being the Zoom master, I concentrate too much on Zoom and who's kind of coming in and what the chat is and things, that I don't really enjoy the Toastmaster session. And other people have found the same. And I guess we've kind of got a dilemma, is, do we continue with the hybrid, or, do we have one person? I mean, if we have one person online, that's great for the person online. But if the person in the room is concentrating so much on Zoom that they don't enjoy the meeting, then it's kind of a waste. You gain one, but you lose one,
Okay, I don't know if the question is over,
Yeah.
but that wasn't one question. That was a comment, a question, and a cherry on top. So I'm going to say 2 things, and I know that my club president is like roaring to say something there. So I'm going to start with the first thing you said, the enjoyment. You said that as a Zoom master, you didn't enjoy the session as much because you were checking in who was coming in, coming out. I must say, I envy you, because in our sessions, if someone came in, they were just silent, because we didn't have that blocking for invitations. So they came in, silence, okay. They just enter and they're part of the session. Like, the Zoom master is doing nothing there. For us, the Zoom master acting is almost literally just gallery mode, speaker mode, gallery mode, speaker mode. That should be it. For us, that should be it. Then the second thing you said, I'm going to share my answer with Sergio Aguia. And my perspective is, if you are having hybrid sessions and it still works for your club, do it. If not, you are imposing upon yourself an effort which is exactly that, an imposition. And that's all I am going to say. And I'm going to give the word to Sergio Aguia, because he has I believe he has value to add to this conversation.
Oh, thank you, Rafael, and thank you, Keith. The second question, I totally agree with Rafael. If see what is the best option for your club. If the best option for your club is doing every single session, the best option for your club is to 2 times a month or 1 time a month. It all depends on the club, and all depends on the infrastructures of the venue. For the first part of the question, I was I'm the Zoom master for the last, I don't know, since last year, and I don't have any work at all. The only work that I have is to set up the computer, the camera. I'm not alone. With me, I had more 4 people. So we have a team of 5 or 6 members ready to build a session. No problem. Because if you put everything on top of one, that person will burn. And normally the clubs put the Zoom master to the guys that is more techy, or, well, fellow Toastmasters, don't do that. Don't do that, because you are narrowing the Toastmaster experience you are narrowing the Toastmaster experience. So for someone who doesn't know nothing about computers, be the Zoom master, because you are going to need that in your meetings, in your work, in your workplace. So don't leave the Zoom master to the techie guy. It's a cliche. So the only problem that we have, it wasn't a problem. The only thing that I did was, prior to session, half an hour prior to starting of the session, I will leave everything connected, camera, microphone, everything on, and I go outside, relaxing, having a cup of drink with friends, and then come to the venue. It's that easy. So don't overstress yourself with giving permission to people to enter. Leave everything open. People will know how to behave. That's it.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sergio. And I would like to add that Sergio's photos of him having a beer before the session, because everything is already ready, are famous. They are almost like, you know, the mallet. They're almost as official as that, almost. And are there any more questions? I'm seeing so many cameras turned down, and there was one person I was really hoping that would say something, because I've been following his work, and it was Marcus Sepala, because I've been following his work on YouTube. Also has a hybrid master, and I was really hoping, because I've never had the opportunity to meet him. Maybe he's not here.
No, I'm here. I'm listening.
There you are.
It's your show. I'm not going to steal your show, even though I have strong opinions about many of the things you said. I'm not going to interrupt.
Anyone with any questions? Otherwise, Marcus can start ripping me apart.
I would have a question, and it is one particular point that I feel is still unresolved, at least in the clubs where I'm a member of, which is the whole part about feedback. So we have the custom that when a speaker finishes their speak, there is the 1 or 2 minutes where the members are writing, if they are in a room, on paper. If they are at home, it's usually Google Forms or something. They write, their own feedback before then the evaluator does their job. And somehow it never works properly, because on one hand, there is the person that gets the papers in the room, and then doing it by smartphone never works from the room. And then on the other hand, you have to collect the feedback from those that sit at home and then somehow hand it over. So people remain with only half of the feedback they got. Things get lost. How are you resolving that particular, or addressing that particular issue within your clubs?
Sergio, do you want to take the first half of this question while I work on the second?
Okay. You are going to show, right?
Yeah, I'm going to show, but first you can do the informal thing.
Okay. We have the papers in the venue, like we always did, and we also have at the 2 minutes gap for people giving the feedback, and worked prior to COVID. And for people at home, we have not a Google form, not a spreadsheet. We have something that that another club share with us, and we are working together that Rafael is going to show, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Rafael, the stage is
It's
yours.
kind of amazing. Thank you, Aga. Thank you for stalling for the time I needed to complete my setup. So we had it was a curiosity because we had a joint session with another club, Leiria, in the south of Portugal, so many driving hours away, and they just we decided to join efforts and see what's the best of both of our worlds. And they have a tool. So some of their members worked with the technology, and they created a form, a custom form exactly for the, not just a Google form, like, I don't like the word, but it's half-assing the form, the real parameters of the evaluation. So they created this form, the one I just placed in the Zoom chat, that it really just, there's no middleman. So if any one of you just goes into this form, writes, selects, like almost exactly as you would on paper. And it just goes directly to the person, no middleman involved, so no one else gets to see either what you wrote or what you should be receiving from others. And I would just like to add something that I was also kind of expecting Age to say, because he was almost like the motivator behind this. If the 2 minutes is not enough time for you to do this formal, complete evaluation, record a sound message and send it via WhatsApp. It is better to receive some feedback than no feedback. On that note, please fill out this feedback.
Thank you, Rafael, because I forgot about that. During a lot of time, I was doing speeches, pick up the cell phone and send the evaluation through like a speech during that 2 minutes. It's also a viable way. And then we have these forms. Can I share the screen, Rafael?
Yes. I can. Do you want me to share the screen?
You share.
So I'm going to share the screen. So the form is exactly like this. So you will write your name. We already know that the person who's going to receive this is me. You can select the project, and there almost all of Pathways projects are selectable there. You excel that, you may want to work on to challenge yourself, and then exactly as you would on paper, you have the scale from 1 to 5 and the little space for you to write notes, some extra remarks, questions and doubts. Place your email to receive a copy and submit. Something like this. This is
thank you.
A free-to-use tool from our friends in Leiria, with which we work to add more and more projects.
I think I missed where you can select the project.
I didn't show that part. Let me see. Let me share.
Oh, yeah.
Let me share again. So that was just the form. Let me share the creation of the form here. So, oh wait. So you could say add evaluation, and here you as the person responsible for the agenda, you would write speech number 1, then say the project. Okay. This is what you want to see. Example this, and then these default dates are a week, so the feedback is available for a week. You would create this evaluation and then just select the person who's going to receive this feedback. No middleman involved. The person responsible for this never sees this again. And then you just have to share this link here.
It's amazing how many kind of things individual clubs come up with around the world.
Exactly. Any more questions?